continues. After France and Germany, we'll now be focusing on British vehicles. In his notes, the archivist is telling us everything about his great first stop, a day at Triumph. That's correct. Our British luxury culture section starts with motorcycles.
Yeah.
You're going for a nice and chill ride. Pay attention, find your way, reach the destination.
After a roller coaster of a trip through France and Germany, my luxury car pilgrimage was bringing me back to my home. Cloudy grey skies and damp asphalt. I was back home, no doubt, and I couldn't be happier. I had a whole day with Triumph ahead of me, surrounded by passionate people to guide me through their motorcycle universe. Stuart Wood, concept engineer, had shared with me everything you could ever want to know about Triumph. Their 100 years of existence, the attention to detail, the perfect combination of performance and visual design. Fascinating. This Rocket 3. Big and powerful, with a remarkable 2.5-litre engine, but still easy to ride. An extreme motorcycle with a huge presence. A Triumph bike through and through.
Oops, wrong way.
British craftsmanship and style, the passion of a whole biker community. This was shaping up to be another highlight of this European trip. All I could do is enjoy the moment. raw performance has never looked as good as it does on a Triumph. I believe that's what they call character.
The next chapter will soon be ready. Stay tuned. Not only did you get the whole thing out of the way, but you also beat the time of a specialist. That deserves a little beach break and a swim. Next event is between Oahu and Maui, and boat outrun between the Kaiwi Islet. Red Bull has even taken the liberty of building giant fans to propel you when you make jumps. It's untested technology. Sounds like it could be fun. Remind you of the rules of Outrun. Drive as fast as you can to beat the timer. Each door saves you time. If your timer reaches 0, the event stops and you'll have to start again. Good luck!
steps aside for a marine adventure. Red Bull's strong connection to action on the water is nothing new. They are heavily involved in high-speed sailboat racing. It's like an Alpha GP race, but on the sea. They even race thunderboats at 200 miles an hour. That's pretty much what you're doing right now. A powerboat race where you have to fight against time. Let yourself be carried away by the current and the giant plans. Let's get back to business.
For the next checklist event. Well, not quite. Does Robbie Madison ring a bell? He is a legend in the world of freestyle motocross. The guy has countless victories in freestyle competitions and broke jump records, like his 29.3-meter motorcycle jump on the replica of the Vegas Triumphal Arch. He's so good that he was even chosen as the stuntman for the world's most famous British spy. You're riding his bike, a KTM 450 with a Robbie Madison modification that won't go unnoticed. By the way, Becky did a podcast with Robbie Madison where he talks about his career. It's a fascinating listen. If you want to find it, go to the Sounds of Red Bull track list of your music player. Over there, on the docks. The Joker's already at work. As usual, if you perform the actions and beat his time, you gain his power. Just like in Highlander.
Jason told me that one of the heaviest moments of his life was riding this motorcycle on a 24-foot wave. On land or in the water, you can do anything with this machine. You can do wheelies, backflips, hit targets while jumping. It's freestyle motocross, so do all the freestyle tricks you can think of and smash the Joker's time. Robbie Madison. Give it another try. Told me that one of the heaviest moments of his life was riding this motorcycle on a 24-foot wave. On land or in the water, you can do anything with this machine. You can do wheelies, backflips, hit targets while jumping. It's freestyle motocross, so do all the freestyle tricks you can think of and smash the Joker's time. The record straight. The Joker is out.
Perfect run. The Joker is renowned for being quite crazy, a rider who takes a lot of risks, but he found a rider even crazier than he is. One last interlude, and this one should please you. It's a drift race between asphalt and dirt. There's no score to reach, just a time to beat. Red Bull lends you another jewel, the Drift Brothers BMW M4 competition. The car belongs to Elias and Johan Toggi, two German brothers, pro drifters who compete together. If you're interested in their story, check out the Sounds of Red Bull tracklist. where Ellie Houtoji talks competition and burnt rubber with professional drifter Connor Shanahan. Definitely the podcast to listen to if you want drifting tips. I can't wait to see you tame the M4.
I've been waiting for. Drifting is my thing, and on top of that, I know this M4 very well, having seen it shine in competition. Told me his team got 2 M4 models before they were even marketed and made 2 1,000 horsepower drift machines for himself and his brother Joe. Enjoy it. It feels absolutely sick drifting with this monster. You've got to give it everything to drift like a drift brother. I've been waiting for. Drifting is my thing, and on top of that, I know this M4 very well, having seen it shine in competition. Told me his team got 2 M4 models before they were even marketed and made 2 1,000 horsepower drift machines for himself and his brother Joe. Enjoy it. It feels absolutely sick drifting with this monster.
mortal in your path, perhaps the toughest, the Ace. The action list that awaits you is an AGP event, but Red Bull style. If you've ever seen a Red Bull video with an AGP drifting in the dirt, you'll know what I mean. We've taken the most modern model, the RB20, and fitted it with rally tyres and slightly beefier suspension, just in case you need to jump it. Basically, it's an all-terrain AGP, so as well as being a muddy event, it's going to be really fast. Action list to prepare you psychologically. High speed and precision driving, jumping, target hitting, and drifting. And of course, you'll have to beat the time set by the Ace. Let's see if the guy lives up to his nickname.
The Ace. He's not much of a talker, but he's quick and sharp. No one can argue with that. Damn, this guy is fast. Oh yeah. Set the bar high, but that was to be expected. AGP with a rally wheel set. It's precise, it can go anywhere at high speed, and with all that, it can jump. one ace in this game.
Switching to standby. You've beaten next event. Same rules as before, except that you'll go through 3 different disciplines. Once you've validated a vehicle's checklist, you move on to the next action list.